Well, welcome everyone again. My name is Dave Kubikian. I'm one of the attorneys at the Herzog Law Firm, and I will, with the help of Kim Hance, our aging life coach. I know I killed it, Kim, I'm sorry. I like to call her a geriatric care manager because then I could say my favorite joke, which is I know she doesn't look that old. I actually used that, Kim, about myself, saying I was a geriatric law attorney and so on, and the clients got a kick out of it. Anyway, welcome. I'm one of the attorneys at Herzog. We have offices in Albany, Kingston, Clifton Park, and Saratoga Springs, and we kind of serve all over the state of New York, doing estate planning and elder law. This webinar is going to focus on the elder law piece of that equation, although we can't go through anything without talking about estate planning. The topic today is an important one. It's called Aging in Place, or in other words, a program called Community Medicaid, which is a way to help people stay at home as they develop long-term care needs. Okay, we have a lot to cover. If you're not familiar with Zoom, there is a way for you to write questions in a chat box, probably on the top right part of your screen. As I mentioned, everyone can, if you choose to, unmute yourselves and ask a question as well. While Kim's talking, I'll monitor the chat. While I'm talking, I'm sure she will. And off we go. So headline grabber, and it's been a headline grabber for almost a full year at this point. No, not COVID, but some really drastic changes to the care at home program known as Community Medicaid. Historically, there is no look back period for this program. Historically, whatever we did today wouldn't keep us from qualifying figuratively tomorrow, literally the first day of the next month. So I don't care how much money you have and what assets you have and how you own them. It's March 3rd today. I can do all sorts of things over the next couple of weeks and allow each and every one of my clients to qualify for this program on April 1st. Or at least that's how it used to be, because there was no look back period. Prior to the pandemic starting, New York State decided that they were going to implement a 2.5-year look back period for Community Medicaid, meaning we had to plan well ahead of time. And they were going to make that change go into effect on October 1st of 2020, which has passed. And you're going to say, well, wait a minute, is there a look back period or is there not? Well, there is. However, Medicaid is not enforcing it, and they've advised that they will not be enforcing it at least until July 1st. And so that'll mean that if this topic is important to you because you have a loved one who may need services through Medicaid for home care, we don't want to mess around. We're going to want to make sure that you apply for the program prior to July 1st. It may be that that date gets extended further, but the more shots in arms that are out there and the more we return to normalcy, hopefully July 1st will be the actual effective date, because that's a sign that what COVID has done to our state is kind of withdrawing a little bit. The topic, of course, that we're covering is long-term care planning, and I define things in ways that are maybe a little weird or maybe a little lazy. I'm going to define long-term care as what it is not. Now, obviously, there's a description there, very eloquent description of what long-term planning is. I say it's not healthcare, right? Long-term care is not healthcare. And the way I think about it in my little brain is, well, healthcare, health insurance, that's when I'm sick. If I'm sick and I can get better, I can go to the doctor, I can go to the hospital, they can fix me. That's not a long-term care issue. My health insurance will cover my health care. And that's how people deal with healthcare issues. And by saying long-term care is not healthcare, what I'm saying is that long-term care deals with when you're not getting better anymore. It might be that now physically our ailments are such that they'll never get better. You know, our hip is bad, it's tough to get across the room, and that's the way it's going to be for the rest of my days. Or it's going to be that cognitively I've been diagnosed with something in the dementia family perhaps, which means that I'm going to have diminished capacity over time. That's not going to change. So going and getting health insurance to cover something that's never going to get better, well, that's not going to work. That's a long-term care issue with long-term care considerations. Kim, I don't want to steal your thunder. This is usually you. So do you want to go through what it means to age in place?
Sure. So you guys understand a little bit more about what I am and how I fit in with an elder law estate planning firm. I am a certified care manager. I am an aging life care manager. So really it means I'm a social worker that specializes in all things related to folks as they age. And one of the things that I'm very passionate about, and what is wonderful about being married with an elder law firm, is I love giving information to help people be proactive and make wise decisions about their future and about the golden years, because that's really what we want to help you do. One of the big things when we talk about aging in place, a lot, folks don't really understand what that means. A lot of times they think it means in the house that you're living in now, but it could mean many other things too. It could mean that possibly you downsize and maybe move to a more manageable location, like a townhome, a condominium, maybe, one floor ranch style house. Maybe you currently live in a 200-year-old farmhouse that's not going to accommodate aging needs. So maybe you're thinking about making some changes in order for it to be a little more age friendly. So there are lots of questions that lead to this aging in place. First and foremost, we really want to understand where you want to live. Sometimes it starts the conversation with, I want to stay right here in my home where I've been for 60 years. So we talk about the geographic location. We talk about family and friends, the informal supports that are around. We talk about how far away is the grocery store, because those are all going to play an important part in making those decisions about where you sort of plant your feet to remain for your aging years. Obviously, we work a lot with folks who live in very geographically rural communities, and it does become more challenging to age in a older home, in a place where the grocery store, you have to travel 30 minutes, you have to go an hour for the doctor. So we really want to understand that so that we're making sure we can put in the proper supports for you. Obviously, one of the next big questions is who's going to provide the care. Many people expect that their children might be willing and able to assist with these types of tasks, but really the reality for caring for an aging loved one, it can really be taxing physically, emotionally, and even financially. Really encourage folks to have an honest conversation with your family members before assistance is needed. There's nothing worse than us meeting with clients or clients' children after a crisis or event has happened and trying to really figure out what the best decisions for mom or dad are. So really want to understand who are going to be the important players in your care plan. Obviously, another big question is how are we going to pay for it? No way to get around it. Care is expensive. It can range from $15 an hour to $35 an hour. So when you're talking about needing full-time care 24/7, it can get expensive fast. And like Dave mentioned, long-term care isn't healthcare. So your health insurance doesn't pay for this. Your Medicare doesn't pay for this. So we really have to talk about what the financial resources available to you are out there. Is it going to be private pay? Is it going to be looking at some sort of veteran assistance program? Is it going to be looking towards, Medicaid to help pay for that? So lots of different questions that we need answers to in order to kind of start driving the bus down the right road. Dave, we can go to the next slide. Where I come into play is when we talk about a care plan, it's really important for me to understand what folks' wishes and desires are, because we want to make sure we align your healthcare, your long-term care plan with sort of what your personal desires are. The last thing I want to see is someone end up in a type of placement situation when they really don't want that. So kind of start with social interaction. And really one of the biggest challenges of staying in a home is the risk of becoming isolated, because there's physical decline, transportation issues become apparent. Seniors who want to stay in their own home really do need to continue to find ways to get out into their community, to be able to socialize, nurture those important relationships with friends and loved ones. And why is that important? There's a saying out there that if you don't use it, you lose it. And very, very true with our circumstances with social isolation. If anything, the pandemic has really shown how isolation affects our mental health, our physical health, our overall well-being. So we want to understand what's available in your community to access social interaction. Is it friends and family? Are we looking at senior centers, or is there a community center close by? Are there different kinds of clubs that you can join, a gardening club, a quilting club? Are there different events going on at your church that you can participate in? Are there educational programs? We're lucky in our area that we have a lot of different types of learning circumstances through continuing education through the school system. We have some really great community colleges that offer the ability to do some, learning, cooking programs, exercise, all different kinds of languages, different things like that. And then we might actually look to different kinds of living community for that social interaction. It's certainly much easier to walk across the hallway to visit your friend Joan than it is to bundle up, get in your car, risk, the bad weather, car accident, things like that. So we really want to understand where that social interaction is going to come from. We also want to look at what different kinds of community supports are going to be available to you. Are you going to be able to get Meals on Wheels? Is there someone around that can help you with your household management as, maintenance becomes an issue for folks, the plowing, the lawn care, what happens when the gutter falls off the side of your roof? Who are we going to look to fix those things, and who's available to do that? And then there's some services that provide a much greater depth of care with respite care and adult day programs, where folks can actually go for the day, get their needs met, and then come home and be there for the rest of the night. Next slide, Dave. So when we're talking about the next level of care, we're actually going to start talking about what kind of care. And there's two different kinds. So there's our activities of daily living, and there's our instrumental activities of daily living. The activities of daily living really do surround around bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, and ambulation. And we want to understand how much assistance you need with those, or how much assistance you don't need with those. And then the instrumental activities of daily living are things like driving, the shopping and meal preparation, maybe medication reminders, the finances, managing the household, all of those things that are very important to being able to obtain a level of independence in your home. But maybe those aren't things that you can perform either because of a physical need, or maybe a cognitive issue like Alzheimer's and dementia, like Dave was talking about before. Then we're going to talk about what are some of the community services out there that are available to help with these things. So there are lots of different types of services that we can put into place to help start bridging the need gap for folks. Why talk about community-based services? Really, the biggest issue is they require, minimal intrusion to the home. Maybe we can start out with a couple of hours, a couple of times a week. If they're implemented in time, they really can help somebody maintain their independence much easier than really relying on somebody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A lot of times it's easier for us to accept having care come into the home incrementally than it is having somebody come in, for a 24 hour a day period. Next slide, Dave. Some of those services that are available that we utilize many times. We talked a little bit about home delivered meals. Nutrition is so important. And as we get older, the ability or the desire to cook becomes less and less. And so we start looking more towards convenience types of items. And those really aren't healthy choices for a lot of our senior aged folks. Can we employ somebody to do some friendly home visitation or some telephone reassurance just to check in and make sure folks are okay? This next one, the health insurance counseling, is something I can't stress enough. Anyone who has Medicare should be meeting with a health insurance counselor on a yearly basis during this open enrollment time. So we've kind of just gotten through open enrollment. Every county office on aging has a certified HICAP person. We love acronyms in long-term care. So HICAP just stands for Health Insurance Counseling or Information Counseling Assistance Program. And that person will sit and talk with you about every Medicare plan that's out there that you would be eligible for and really help you decide which one is going to be the best choice, both from a need standpoint, whether it's medications, do you require physical therapy, different kinds of like that. And then from a financial position as well, because there are plans that have high copays, maybe they have a high deductible plan, maybe there's a plan that's no premium but has copays. So depending on how much you
I'm not sure if Kim is frozen or not. She may be. So I'm going to take it over from here for a little bit. And Kim, as soon as you're right back on, come on back in. All right. Let me just unpin her and pin myself. Okay. So as Kim was saying, there's a lot of different programs that are out there. One of the things that she does in her capacity, and maybe I should have started with this earlier, is the idea that at our law firm, we have attorneys, right? I'm an attorney. I help people get qualified for programs like Community Medicaid. We rearrange assets, we create trusts, we do all sorts of things that may help in that regard. Once we get approval, once we've considered income and ways to save income, as we'll go through later on in this webinar, that's when Kim comes in and she says, all right, what is best for our loved one? What programs are around in the community to supplement what this Medicaid program can do? Within the Community Medicaid program itself, what options are going to be most advantageous for you and your family? In terms of the costs of long-term care, the reason why we're even having this discussion is the fact that it's really expensive to get long-term care, okay? It doesn't matter if that care is going to take place at home. It doesn't matter if that care is going to take place in assisted living or in a nursing home. It's expensive. And if you say, well, wait a minute, look at assisted livings, right? It could be $3,000 a month. That's not that expensive. For someone who's, retired on a fixed income, $3,000 a month is a lot of money, okay? Now, home care. A lot of people think home care is not that expensive. And in the world of long-term care expenses, in general, yeah, it could be a lower option. But when we're talking about 24/7 care, as Kim would attest, he said $20 an hour, 24 hours a day. That's $480 a day, right? Times 30 months, you're up in the $15,000 a month category, guys. $15,000 a month to pay for 24/7 home care. Now, there's obviously going to be payment options that we're going to talk about here, and not everyone needs 24/7. You might need just a handful of hours a week. But in general, what we want people to do is get those hours when they can at home to hopefully prevent the need for a larger amount of hours, preventing those falls, preventing those vulnerable situations, whether it's going to be bathing, toileting, transporting, shopping, driving, what have you, okay? For assisted livings, there's obviously a very large range, and it tends to be a la carte menu, meaning that there's a certain amount that you're paying for, and then there's upgrades, right? Are we talking about a memory care unit situation? Well, it's not uncommon to get even up to the $10,000 range of a monthly obligation. Still, we have plenty of clients who end up in assisted livings. We have plenty of clients who end up at home. And unfortunately, we have plenty of clients who end up in a nursing home where the monthly expense associated with that kind of care is $14, $15, $16, and up $1,000 a month, $400, $450, $475 a day of expense, okay? So the question is, how can we pay for those kinds of needs? And it ends up being a hodgepodge of a bunch of different things, and we take whatever we can get, right? Just like Kim's approach when it comes to care is, yes, Community Medicaid may serve a role, but you know what? Meals on Wheels can serve a role, and High Cap can serve a role, and these other programs that she ends up talking about. It takes a village, so to speak. So the payment options start with obviously paying out of your own pocket, private paying. Okay, that's self-explanatory. I don't need to explain to you how to use your money for your own care. Unfortunately, though, that's the default option that many people have, not knowing other options are out there. There's Medicare, and you're going to say, well, wait a minute. Kim said Medicare doesn't fill a role here. Well, it doesn't fill a long-term care role. As you'll see in a couple of slides here, it does fill a role. Medicaid, we have plenty to talk about there. Long-term care insurance as well. Veterans programs, okay? Those are really important. If you or your spouse were active duty during wartime, and I got to use those there's air quotes, wartime, there might be rather significant monthly benefits that you or your spouse may be entitled to because of that service, and thank you for that service. Obviously, we're not going to go through all the details there, but you need to know that's an option. In fact, if we ever apply for Medicaid for you or your family member, Medicaid wants to know what you'd be entitled from the veteran, from the VA as well. And they want you to try to get those benefits to help subsidize the cost that Medicaid is paying for your care as well. Now, I mentioned Medicare. Medicare is healthcare, right? Medicaid is not healthcare. How does Medicare fit in this role? Because every now and then someone will interrupt me, gladly, by the way, so feel free to ask questions and say, well, wait a minute, Dave, this is all great, but my neighbor fell. She went to the hospital. She went to a nursing home for rehab. A couple of weeks later, she came home and she told me Medicare covered everything. And you and Kim obviously don't know what you're talking about. Well, thank you. Thank you for that fictitious question. The fact is Medicare does have a role, and it's based off of a certain prerequisite. If you or your loved one has been admitted into a hospital for 3 days, okay? And after that stay, it's at least 3 days, after that hospital visit, they need rehab because they've been off therapy, because there's now a pin in their knee or this here or that there, okay? That rehab in a skilled nursing facility, up to the first 20 days may be paid 100% by Medicare. You're not seeing the wrong info on your slide there. Days 21 through 100, they'll cover a large amount of the cost of your care in rehab. However, there will be a copay. It's closer to $180 now. We haven't updated this number for 2021 yet. After 100 days, there's no coverage from Medicare. And this comes back to that first thing that we mentioned, right? What is long-term care? What isn't it? Long-term care is not health care. It's not health insurance eligible. But Medicare provides health insurance. Medicare is a form of health insurance. So the reason why, and if you think about it, it makes sense. The reason why Medicare can fill a small role here is if you're trying to get better at rehab and it's working, well then yes, it's health insurance and they're happy to take care of that for you. If it's an extended period of getting better, they say, yes, we'll cover the lion's share, but you will have this copay. The copay is $170, so about $180 a day. So if you put that out 30 days, it ends up being about a $5,400 a month copay. So really a budget buster as well, but we'll take what we can get. The problem is people hear this. People hear of these situations where Medicare worked and they say, aha, I don't have to plan ahead of time. But guys, the devil's in the details, because it's not the first 20 days that Medicare covers. It's up to the first 20 days. It's not then days 21 through 100, the next 80 days. It's up to the next 80 days. And we got to be careful and use those words up to, because at any point, Medicare, health insurance may say, hey, you know what? It looks like you're plateauing in your recovery a little bit. It looks like you're not getting better anymore. It looks like this is no longer a health care issue. This is a long-term care issue. Oftentimes we have clients who refuse the services. They're tired. They've been in the hospital. They don't want rehab for whatever reason. They don't believe that they're going to get better. And so if you refuse rehab, right, Ditto, you are not going to be getting Medicare coverage. The other piece of it, what happens if I've been in the hospital for a day and a half, right? I broke my leg, day and a half, and they said, off you go. Well, you haven't been there 3 days, have you? So Medicare is not going to cover that extended stay in a skilled nursing facility where you might be getting rehab. So it's really important to know the limitations of Medicare, as well as to know that it does serve a role, but if you will, we call it short-term, long-term care. I did see a question pop up here. Let me just take a quick look. Catherine, we're going to get to your question at the end, okay? I promise. It looks like a long one, and I feel like I'm on a roll. Maybe I'm not. So let's talk about Medicaid. Medicaid. Well, Medicaid is a really, really big government program, and it covers everything from health insurance for the destitute to long-term care coverage, and it covers actually the largest payer of long-term care expenses in our country is the Medicaid program. We divide that Medicaid program for long-term care into two components, only because Medicaid does so itself. We're not being clever here. There's a chronic care component, and that's associated with nursing home care that Medicaid can cover. And then there's a community-based program called Community Medicaid for home care services. The big pieces I want you to know about Medicaid is that we're really talking about home, wherever you call home. It could be an apartment, it could be your daughter's, one of the rooms in your daughter's home, or a nursing facility when it comes to Medicaid. You'll see down there, it says certain assisted livings called ALPS. Yes, there are some assisted livings that will allow Medicaid to pay for rooms, but it's based off of the home care rules as opposed to the nursing home rules. I'm not going to get into too much detail other than to let you know whenever we do meet with clients, whether it's Kim, myself, Jane Marie, Debbie, Harry, we always will mention to our clients, you know, there are these other options out there if we do need a little more help, but you know, home is just not doable. We're not ready for the nursing home yet, but money is tight. ALPS can provide a very important role. We're going to talk about the financial aspects of Medicaid in a second, but Kim, I don't know if you're back. If you are, give me a holler here. I'm going to assume Kim's not.
I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Oh, welcome back. How was your nap?
Oh, yeah.
I'm kidding.
I tried to warn you that, you know, our internet's not been so great here. So
that's all right. I got your back. Well, do you mind telling everyone about the waiver programs? And basically, if I could preview it for a second, there's this big program, Community Medicaid, Care at Home. Well, everyone's different. Everyone's needs are different. And Medicaid doesn't just say, hey, everyone, we're giving you all tons of hours of help. They're going to actually look at people's specific needs and based on those needs, assign certain amount of hours. What Kim does, and she works hand in hand with families, is to figure out within the needs that a client has, how can Community Medicaid work for them? Kim, take it away.
So, you know, like Dave was mentioning, there's two components to the Medicaid program. One is the financial component, and the second part is the medical component. Once we get you medically qualified, there are a couple of different programs or avenues that we can choose. And that's one of the things that we really want to do is help you work through and choose the most appropriate program. The waiver programs, generally speaking, provide more hours of care. The biggest issue with those programs is that in order to maximize the amount of care that you can receive, there has to be some type of cognitive issue. So obviously with a traumatic brain injury, that's fairly self-explanatory. You need to have had some type of incident that resulted in a traumatic brain injury. The nursing home transition diversion waiver program is a program where we're either diverting somebody from the nursing home, meaning keeping you out, or transitioning you from the nursing home, meaning that you've sort of ended up there and you'd like to go home, and it's going to provide the services in order to transition you out of that nursing home. So home care services, we're going back to the activities of daily living that we talked about earlier, and why it's so important is the managed long-term care programs really base their hours of care, the number of hours that somebody's awarded, on what we call task-based services with those activities of daily living. So how much hands-on care do you need with bathing and dressing and toileting and ambulating? And hands-on care is very, very specific. One of the other big changes that's coming down the pike with the community Medicaid, not only the look back, is they're increasing the eligibility from needing assistance with 2 of your activities of daily living to 3. So again, this is where we're going to really work hand in hand with our clients to help them maximize the program that's most appropriate. In addition to the hands-on care, the waiver programs also provide what we call oversight and supervision. So that can be somebody with a cognitive impairment that just really needs somebody there for safety reasons, to make sure that they get the reminders that they need for medication, to eat, to go to the bathroom. Maybe they can do all those tasks independently, but they really need somebody there to oversee those activities and make sure they're being safe. Managed long-term care program, the care is really more focused around hands-on care. So again, we're really going to work with you to make sure we maximize the most appropriate programs that you can be eligible for.
And Kim, if I could just ask you in front of everyone here, when we're talking about task-based, your experience is that tends to result in maybe a smaller amount of hours because
Correct.
A task like getting a shower or help with bathing or something like that, well, how often do you need to be bathed, right? It's not as frequent as this ongoing oversight and monitoring. So it may be less skilled when it comes to the waiver programs, certainly important. And you may result in fewer hours when it comes to the task-based services. Is that right?
Correct. So generally, you need a lot less help with hands-on care than you do to make sure you're safe and secure.
And one more thing, Kim, is when it comes to who the caregivers are going to be, you do have a say in it, right? It's not just strangers that are coming into your house. You may certainly choose to have agencies that provide a number of different people who can fill that role, and they have a schedule for that. But you could also pick, if there's someone that's always been taking care of mom, there's an avenue for that person to continue to take care of mom, even though you're now under the Medicaid program.
There is, again, we're going to speak in generalities because when you start getting into the weeds, it gets really confusing. But there is a program called Consumer Direct that allows you to hire your own person. In a lot of circumstances, however, we are able to utilize that person under the waiver as well, just having them be hired through an agency. So there are lots of different nuances that happen. And we generally, again, it's one of the advantages of working with a comprehensive service, and that being able to kind of navigate you through all of these twists and turns that happen. But yeah, there is an avenue to be able to basically really use anybody with the exception of a spouse or a parent.
Thank you, Kim. So here are some asset and income guidelines for the Community Medicaid program. And I know it says that 2020, I literally just before we started updated 2021 without changing that year. I apologize. So some of you are going to say, well, wait a minute, we went through 37 minutes of this thing, and now I see that my loved one can only have $900 of income a month. Forget it, right? Obviously, they got more just from Social Security. Well, these are guidelines on the resource side, the asset side. Those are hard and fast, and we got to make sure we're below certain thresholds. And as we'll see in the oncoming slides, the definition of what a resource is really important in this, right? It's easy to say, well, $15,900 of assets is what I can have. Well, that's not what it says. It says resources. So we need to know what is and what is not a resource. On the income side, similarly, right? It's important to realize that no matter how much your income is, if you're Bill Gates, if you're Warren Buffett, I can get you qualified for the program. Unfortunately, your income will be a lot higher than most people, or maybe fortunately, I guess. And your spend down, the fact that you have so much income means that you're probably not going to see the benefit of the program, or at least they won't. For our clients, however, especially when we start talking about ways to preserve income in the moment as we're getting care, you'll see the program can still provide a lot of value. And of course, incomes are above $900. As you'll see, there's increased resources under something called spousal budgeting that our spouse can have when we have a situation with a couple. In terms of those things that are exempt For home care, call it crazy, your home can be exempt. Right? We need a place to get that care, and at least temporarily that home's exempt. I say temporarily because at some point, if you elevate in need and no longer are residing at home, perhaps you need a nursing home, that can become a resource. Medicaid may say, hey, why don't you sell that house and then pay for your nursing home and not call us until you have no more money left. Right? We don't like that at all. You can prepay your funeral and make funeral arrangements not just for yourself, but certain family members. And that's something a lot of people do in the last moments to help themselves qualify for Medicaid. You could have life insurance up to a certain cash value, not a lot. You could have one car of any value. I almost had a $1.5 million car be my one exempt car for a client down in Kingston. It never happened. It would have been a nice story. It's still a nice story to talk about what might have been, though. Most important when it comes to exempt resources, your retirement accounts, your qualified retirement accounts, things like your IRAs, your 401ks, your 403bs, and so on. They're not considered assets. They're not considered resources. So they don't go towards that $15,900 number. Instead, they're considered streams of income. We have distributions we take from our retirements. Medicaid makes us take a certain amount as a distribution, and that distribution will be considered as income divided by 12 months and added to your monthly budget for purposes of determining what your spend down is. Remember, when it comes to resources or assets, it's a hard and fast line. If we're above that line, we don't qualify. The look back periods go to see how we got below that figure. Did we give our money away, and so on. As I mentioned earlier, there's currently no look back period in effect in New York. So that ends up being a moot point. On the income side, it's not a hard and fast rule. It's like a soft cap, meaning that if you have income above what you're allowed to have, and most people do, you have a spend down requirement. It's effectively like a monthly deductible, guys. We all have deductibles when it comes to our car insurance, when it comes to our health insurance, perhaps. We're going to pay $50 when we go to the doctor, or we need to meet a certain high deductible plan when it comes to our health care. Similarly, income, excess income is part of a deductible. And that has some really important real life considerations we're going to talk about in a couple slides when we get into income. And again, to reiterate, the name of the game is making people qualify from an asset standpoint, moving things around prior to an actual application, making sure that we are avoiding look back periods. And on the income side, considering something called a pooled supplemental needs trust when it's appropriate. Again, more slides on income coming up. Now, you're going to see October 1, 2020, and you're going to say, well, why is that date there? I thought Dave said July 1st. Well, I did. Effectively, October 1st is still the date that matters, however. Because of COVID, Medicaid is saying right now, we're not going to enforce the rule, but the rule actually is a look back going back to October 1st, 2020. So if you think you're going to say, well, you know what, I'll create a trust to get these clocks ticking. I don't have a need for long-term care. The need's not a really big need. You know what, I'll apply one day down the road. Well, remember, if it turns out that in, say, November or October of this year, Medicaid says, well, you know what, we're going to start enforcing this look back period, even though you may have done planning in August or September, or even right now in March of 2021, the look back period actually will look backwards beyond today, and they'll look back to October 1st, 2020. They'll enforce up to a 30-month look back period, but in fact, it'll just go back to October 1st, and then sometime in the year 2022, it'll start going back a little further. The name of the game is planning ahead of time because, again, while there is no look back now, we know there is one. It's just a technicality now for why it's not being implemented. But there's a bigger thing in play here, guys. If we need home care, it's not that big of a stretch to think, well, home's no longer going to be a place where we can get care one day. Our needs may increase so greatly, we can't stay at home anymore, right? If we're getting home care, we already are in the long-term care conversation. We're getting it. We're getting long-term care. So if it turns out that we need a nursing home one day where there is a 5-year look back period, we better make sure we planned ahead of time. Best way to do it, other than to get lucky based on your fact patterns. And by the way, that happens. Luck is a thing. We like luck. We don't plan with luck. We get lucky, right? The best way to plan ahead of time is to do something called a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. Now, you don't see the words Medicaid Asset Protection Trust on the slide. You see a far worse word, the I word, irrevocable. And this is the bane of my existence, the word irrevocable. And the reason why is because in normal life, irrevocable means something. If I gave you my phone irrevocably, you wouldn't expect me to knock on your door tomorrow to ask for my phone back and in fact demand it and get it back from you. You'd say, well, wait a minute, you gave it to me irrevocably. Well, that may be. But in the legal world, irrevocable has a specific definition that is not the same as what we like to think irrevocable means day to day. When we do seminars in person, I used to ask people, what does the word irrevocable mean? And the top three answers all the time were things like, you can't control it, you can't change it, or you can't undo it because it's irrevocable, right? Well, all three of those things are wrong. That is not what irrevocable means. And I'm going to tell you right now what the word irrevocable means. You may start throwing things at your screen after you hear my answer, but it's the God's honest truth. Okay, so this is what irrevocable means. Irrevocable means not revocable. How about that? Irrevocable means not revocable. Why does that mean something? Why am I laughing? Well, it's important to know that irrevocable means not something. It means not revocable. And that's important because when we're defining something, we kind of need to know what revocable means to know what not revocable means, right? I think you'd agree. So let's look at the word revocable. What does the word revocable mean? Well, revocable means that you, the creator of something, like the person who created the trust, you, by yourself, whenever you feel like it, can undo the trust. You can pull something back out and put it back in your pocket by yourself. That's what revocable means. Not that you could undo something. No. Revocable means you can undo something by yourself with just your signature. Okay? So when we say that a trust is irrevocable, not revocable, we're not saying that you can't pull money out. We're not saying certainly that you can change your beneficiaries or trustees. You can't amend your trust. Of course you can. We're not even saying you can't control anything more. We're just saying if you want to pull your own money out of your own trust and put it in your own pocket, you can't do it by yourself. Now you might be sitting there and saying, well, why does this matter, right? What's the point, right? This seems like a technicality. Why am I making such a big deal out of words? Well, you should know one day if we ever apply for Medicaid for you or your family member, Medicaid's not going to be concerned with everything that's in your name. They're going to be concerned with everything that's in your name where you, by yourself, with just your signature, can get to it. They're going to care about your bank accounts and your CDs and savings bonds. Why? Because you can go to the bank yourself right now and pull all that money out with just your signature. They're going to care about your stocks and your bonds and your brokerage accounts. Why? Because you can call up your broker, say, buy, sell, send it to my bank account, send it to me, right? With just your signature. They care about your home in certain situations. Why? Because you can sell your home right now if you felt like it. You just don't feel like it, right? You have the power of signing that deed right now if you wanted to. They care about the cash value in your life insurance. Why? Because you can access cash value of a life insurance policy. How? With just your signature. Those are all examples of assets you own that are effectively revocable. They happen to be in the bank, but you can revoke it, pull it back into your own pocket with just your signature. And that's what Medicaid cares about. So if we have a trust, helps us avoid probate, right? Does lots of good things, good as solid estate planning, but you by yourself can undo that thing. Well, Medicaid says, well, look at that. It looks like everything in that trust is a resource of yours and you don't qualify for the program. So in reality, we need to create this thing called an irrevocable trust. It's technically irrevocable. Why? Because you by yourself cannot pull the money out. It's a trust with a audience of one, right? It's a trust that's speaking to Medicaid, and we're saying, hey, Medicaid, listen, I'm going to enjoy my assets. I'm going to be the income beneficiary of my trust. All trust income is going to go to me. I'm going to live in my house. I'm going to keep getting the star exemption. Okay. In fact, if I want to pull money out of the trust, I'm going to orchestrate it and make sure it happens. But before Medicaid, you get excited and you think you can say that I don't qualify for Medicaid because of this Medicaid trust. Just know when I pull money out, I can't do it by myself. I do it with my trustee. I do it with my trust beneficiaries. I do it with at least one other person. So technically, it's not a revocable trust because I can't do it by myself. I could do it with one other person. I could do it with Kim, right? Because in my documents, I named Kim as the trustee. I named Kim as my beneficiary when I die. That means that if I want to pull everything out of the trust, Kim and I, we can make it all happen. Now, that's not control, right? Me needing Kim, Kim's probably not going to agree to me pulling my own money out of my own trust. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. I can't depend on it though, right? This is the rest of my life. I got to make sure I have access to everything. So what I'm allowed to do, because that has nothing to do with me pulling money out, is I could fire Kim. In fact, that sounds really good. I'm kidding, Kim. I would never fire you. The point is you still control everything, because when we say you need one other person to access your own money whenever you feel like it, you always control who that person is. Now, you're going to say, and I hear this all the time, which is this seems really complicated, because it is. And why should I do all this? Well, it's because you're going to save a large amount of money. That's the whole point, right? You're not doing it for yourself. You're not even doing it for your spouse. You do these kinds of things. You set up a trust like this because you want to make life easier for whoever your beneficiaries are when you're not here anymore. You want to do it so that they get as much money as possible when you do pass away. You do it so you can qualify for these benefits that keep you at home, that keep you out of a nursing home while protecting your assets the whole time. When it comes to these trusts, just like revocable trusts, you could rearrange what's inside the trust. You could sell your house. It doesn't impact your eligibility for Medicaid. You're the income beneficiary. You're still reporting taxes the way you always did. Life is the same, except for when we want to take money out of the trust, put it in our own pocket. It happens whenever you want it, just not with your own signature, your signature plus one. I hope that makes sense to you. I realize this is an aging in place webinar. I also realize we do webinars on a whole host of other topics. Debbie Burney, my partner, did a presentation this morning on wills versus trusts. If you missed it, the video will be on our website shortly. If you want to see an old version of wills versus trusts, they're all out there on our website. And you could hear more about these kinds of trusts. But it's imperative that we realize that as we get people qualified for home care, we just not put blinders on and say, yep, I'm going to be home forever because that's how it's going to work. That's the plan. But we plan for things to not go to plan. So we got to make sure that as we get people qualified for Medicaid, we do it in a way where you still control everything and we're getting that 5-year clock ticking in case we need more care. What should go in the trust? Excellent question. What a wonderful slide. Well, we start with illiquid assets like your home, because I don't want you to have long-term care needs. In fact, I hope you never do. I hope you never see the inside of the nursing home. I hope you never have a long-term care you ever come to your own home. Okay, obviously that's ideal compared to a nursing home, but I hope you have good health. I hope you pass away on your 100th birthday, celebrating your 70th anniversary with your spouse and all's well. That may not happen, right? So even if it does, even if things work out perfect, I want to make sure we've avoided probate. We've avoided the normal estate planning issues that I deal with as well. So what do we put in the trust? A house. Why? That's a big old asset. And most of the time, people who are our clients doing some heavy duty Medicaid planning towards the tail end of their lives, last quarter of their lives, last third of their lives, 60 and up, what have you. Let's take that most illiquid, largest asset and protect that thing. Doesn't mean we're always going to be in that house. We are able to sell the house and rearrange our assets as we please. But what I want to put in there is everything that Medicaid cares about within reason, because I know money's not the most important thing. I know I don't want to be inconvenienced too much even though I can get my own money whenever I want to. So maybe we leave 50, 60, 70, $80,000 outside the trust, maybe more, maybe less, whatever your comfort level is. Okay, we don't want you to unnecessarily access the trust. I want you to travel. I want you to live life and do everything that it is that you want to do. Because of the look back period and how it may be implemented for home care, okay, the value of doing a trust earlier becomes even more important. This is not an infomercial for Herzog Law Firm. This is an infomercial for you planning ahead of time. There's lots of different firms that can help you do that. The reason why planning becomes so impactful right now is because it used to be, and it happens to currently be because of a technicality, because of COVID, but it used to be, and eventually this will end, I could get anyone qualified next month for home care, right? And it meant that I could wait a little longer when it came to doing trust, because you know what, if it turned out I had some long-term care needs 2 or 3 years into my trust, all's not lost. I can qualify for the home care program and I'm all set, right? Maybe the home care program carries us to the 5-year mark, so that way we've protected things in case we need a nursing home. But my net, right, my emergency net is gone as soon as New York State says, you know what, COVID's not as bad anymore, and we're implementing this 2.5-year look back period. So it becomes absolutely imperative that you get the clock ticking as early as possible, as long as you understand it, as long as you understand what this does, what it doesn't do, what powers you still have. And the good news is you still have all of your powers you did before you did the trust. Again, you want to avoid the penalty by planning ahead, guys. Now, we're going to spend a couple slides on income, okay, and then we'll wrap this up. We've been focusing on trusts, putting assets into a trust, getting qualified for the home care program and what benefits the home care program provides. And I threw out there earlier that income and excess income is treated in the form of effectively a deductible. We have more than $900 a month of income, we can qualify for Medicaid, but Medicaid will want us to spend, if we have $1,900 of income, they're going to want us to spend that extra $1,000 we have, right? If we have 1,900, we have 1,000 more than 900. They want us to spend that on our care before they pay for anything, kind of like a deductible. And that's where something called the Pooled Supplemental Needs Trust comes into play. I think we have an example here. So let's say Norma's got 8, you know what, I swear, client I spoke to this morning, her name was Norma. Norma, I'm sure you're not listening if your daughters are high. Good to see you guys again. Norma's income actually was a lot higher than $1,895. I think she was in the $2,750 range. But in this example, Norma's got $1,895, and let's say Medicaid allows her to have $895. Every month, she will have an excess of $1,000. She will qualify for Medicaid. And without a pool trust, that $1,000 goes bye-bye. You pay that on the caregivers prior to Medicaid covering any of the care. It's a spend down. What the pool trust does is it says, well, you know what? The reality is if I live at home, I still have home expenses. I still need to put food on the table. I still need to have clothing. I still need to pay my utilities and taxes and insurance. If the boiler breaks, I need money, right? What about the lawn care, right? Snow removal. It's all important, right? We need every dollar we can in our elder years because we're on a fixed budget. So we take $1,000, her excess income, and we submit it to this pool trust that we've been enrolled in. And that pool trust company essentially holds Norma's money in a segregated account for Norma. And that money just sits there, and every month $1,000 goes in. That's what happens if you didn't touch it. But of course, we're going to touch it. What do? We submit to the pool trust expenses of mom's. We send to her rent obligation, or a mortgage, or maintenance if she's got a condo, taxes and insurance, utility bills, cable bills, phone bills, garbage bills, groceries, shopping, more aids above and beyond what Medicaid's willing to cover. Okay, we want to use that money for real expenses for Norma, so that way she can have her care and eat it too. Well, to use an analogy, right? She could have her care and have every dollar of her income, right? Why is that important? Because we need income, right? Norma wasn't rolling in it. She's not a Rockefeller, right? We need 1895. Every dollar counts, and the pool trust can help us keep every dollar. A little review here, guys. And I have to say, look, if you think that a loved one can use some home care, or you need some more information, right? You schedule a free 1-hour consultation, right? Kim might be involved in it. One of the attorneys certainly will. And we walk through the specific facts. There's so much nuance. There's so many exceptions. There's so many, well, but there's an exception here because you're getting money from a business, or there's an exception here because one of your children is living with you, or there's an exception because one of your children is disabled, right? The details really matter. In general, big picture stuff, right? Medicaid has a program that can help people stay at home. New York is in favor of this program, guys. Why? Because it's cheaper for Norma to stay at home, because Norma's taxes are paid by Norma. Norma's insurance is paid by Norma. Norma's food is paid by Norma. The only thing that Medicaid is paying for are the hours of care. Flip that around and say Norma's in a nursing home. Who's responsible for all those bills? Everything, the brick and mortar, not the clothing, but the food, right? Every need, 24/7 for Norma. Well, Norma doesn't need 24/7. Well, in a nursing home, you're paying for it regardless of whether you need it. And in a nursing home, when Medicaid's putting the bill, they're paying for it regardless of whether Norma needs it as well. We encourage people to put assets in trusts. We encourage that not because we make money on trusts, although we do. We encourage it because if it turns out that we need to go to the next level and get to a nursing home, the rules are different. There's a 5-year look back period, right? I need to be able to undo the transfers that created the ability for someone to qualify for Medicaid. I might need to undo the trust. If you say, well, you know what, Dave, I'm just going to give money to my kids. The problem is, I don't know if your kids still have that money to give it back to you if we didn't get through the 5 years and we need a nursing home one day. Okay. The next thing is people say, well, I know what you're saying, Dave. I'm never going to need a nursing home. I'm never going in. We all agree. That's great. That means you have a choice. In life, you don't have a choice when it gets to that level. I'm yet, and I'd love, Kim, you could say if you've ever heard this, but I'm yet to hear someone say, I choose nursing home. That's never the choice, but people go to nursing homes because they have to. There's currently no look back period in effect, but right now, July 1st, it will be in effect, and it will roll back at least to October 1st of 2020. I want you to plan in advance, guys. Most importantly, and there's whole webinars on these topics, right? These important documents, but I'm going to focus on that middle one, a power of attorney. With a good, strong power of attorney, if you're in the throes of dementia, your loved ones, your agents can do everything we're talking about. They can create trusts, they can fund those trusts, they can qualify for Medicaid, they could enroll you in pool trusts, they can do everything. So first and foremost, we want to make sure everyone has a good, strong power of attorney, a good basic estate plan, and then we go from there. I think we have a couple questions. Just want to remind everyone we do free consultations, and we're on the radio every Saturday morning. It's a great way to fall back asleep if you're up a little early, and also a great way to get some information. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to move on to these questions. Hold on just a second, please.